Good evening, everyone, and happy Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. I am your host, Sonja, and welcome to the Legal Score. Thank you so much to Pink Fan Fur for producing the promos for me, as well as Brian Arndt, the production extraordinaire behind the scenes. I want to dedicate tonight's show to my uncle, Edward Walker. Tomorrow will be his birthday, and those who know me personally know that he is the reason why I do this show. So, tonight's episode, my Friday episode, as well as Saturday of this week, will be dedicated to him. And make sure you guys stand by to this platform all the time. We have all kinds of news. We've got some movie review shows going on now, the BW movie review. We've got like lots of college sports talk. There's sports talk around the clock. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I've got a mixture. You guys know I relaunched my name, so it has a mixture of sports as well as current events and legal news. So sit back, relax, and let's hang out here for the next hour. I hope everyone is doing well. Some big news that's leading off today. You guys know I'm a football girl. That's literally like my favorite sport. Leading off tonight, the Atlanta Falcons have a major roster shift after today. Caleb McCary actually announced his retirement today. 31 years old. He missed the entire 2025 season due to an injury he received at practice involving his lower left leg. And so he is actually retiring. Now, this was confirmed by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler today. This news actually came out this afternoon. And McCary was the former first-round pick in 2019 and a staple of the Falcons line for 92 starts. Now, his departure creates an immediate opening and void at right tackle. And this is just weeks before the draft. So they say time is everything. I'm hoping, for the Falcons' sake, that they're able to get someone in at the draft that will solidify that void, at least, to kind of not have that gap coming into the new season. This is particularly critical because, as you guys know, that Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback for the Falcons organization, is still healing from his injury and this torn ACL. So it's going to be really big for Tua Tagovailoa, for those who don't know, who was picked up from Miami to be able to be the main primary signal caller for the start of 2026 campaign. And he's going to need this position filled as quickly as possible. Now let's talk about that. We talked about the draft a little bit. Well, it came out today. You guys, everyone knows Fernando Mendoza is projected to go number one in the draft here coming up at the end of this month. However, the Indiana/California quarterback has stated he will not be at the big stage. He will not attend this draft that's occurring here in a couple of weeks in person. He's actually planning to be in Miami with his family. The Heisman winner and national champion from Indiana has informed the league that he will actually stay home to celebrate this huge moment with family and friends. Sources indicate that his mom's health is a primary focus as to why this decision has been made. And he is expected to be taken by the Las Vegas Raiders. Despite skipping the stage, he actually remains the number one consensus to still remain number one. And of course, we send our well wishes to his mom. Definitely can understand, parental issues and such. Everyone is coming in. I see everyone watching. Please say hello so I can pop your comment up and let us know where you're watching from. Thank you so very much for being here tonight. All right, let's move on. Major League Baseball, you guys know we're in the crust of the season now. We're a couple of weeks in. Braves and Angels brawl. Now, those of you all that do not know, I'm a huge Braves fan, have been one since I was a kid. We didn't have a professional baseball team in North Carolina. Now that I live in Atlanta, I definitely support that franchise. Well, Jorge Soler, who is one of my favorite Braves, part of the championship team back in 2021, left, then returned in 2024. And now he is with the Angels. So he and Pitcher Lopez from the Atlanta Braves got into a huge stare down with their game. And I don't even know what prompted this. All I know is I saw the clip and it was like a stare off. Then Lopez mouthed something. And before you know it, the two were going at it. Benches had to be cleared. And today, punishments were passed out. Hello, B. Thank you so much. What up, though, to my producer checking in. Thank you so much, B, for always supporting. And thank you for greeting. Of course, he's watching from the Michigan, the D-Tweezy area. But this brawl, I'm just interested in how this all stemmed. Now, I told you that Soler played in 2021 and 2024. Well, Lopez was there in 2024. Now, he was not there in 2021 when the Braves won the World Series. And so I'm just interested to know, I can't seem to put my finger on it before the show at least, that there must have been some type of bad blood left over in the locker room if those two players actually had time to overlap. I couldn't even find the specifics as to whether or not they actually played together for the Braves during the time that Soler was last a Brave and that Lopez is there. Now, this is Ronaldo Lopez, is who I'm speaking about. I mean, this brawl happened on Tuesday night and it went on for quite some time. Of course, MLB, Major League Baseball, handing down significant discipline on today. And like I said, benches were not loaded; they were cleared. The pitcher, got into it, and we see this type of thing all the time. But to hit with a helmet on, it's always the craziest thing that I have seen. Oh, I hope she's cute. What's up, SKK? Thank you so much. He says I look like Nia Zach. But to know that this has gone on and to hit someone that's wearing a helmet with your fist, you're really just hurting yourself. Well, the punishments have been coming down. Jorge Soler has been suspended for 7 games, as well as Ronaldo Lopez has also been suspended for 7 games, and they have both been fined. Now, the fine amount has not been disclosed as of yet. Y'all know if I find out, I will let you guys know. And by the way, hit the thumbs up. All of you all that are watching, please at least give me a thumbs up so that I will be able to, get this out to more people. They'll know that I'm actually live. This conflict actually ignited between these two in the 5th inning when Lopez threw a high and inside pitch that Soler perceived as intentional. Soler charged the mound and the two exchanged unpleasant pleasantries and then punches as well before being tackled. Both players are appealing this decision for the 7-game suspension as well as the fine. And this is going to allow them to remain in their respective lineups so that they can actually play for tonight. Let's see. Somebody's got some news for me. What's up, SK? Okay, so B, they've got it lowered to 5 games. All right. I don't know. To me, 5, 7 is still 2. B, let me know if that's the final decision or not, or if that's lowered as until they make the final determination. All right. So there is a legal case that I'm going to talk about here in a minute that involved a well-decorated NFL draft prospect that sadly lost his life. But before we get there, let's talk about well, actually that may be what I need to run over to real quick. Let's move this into some salacious news, shall we? I try to wait and like weigh all that at one time, but then sometimes I can't. Let me actually go to some NBA news before I get to anything else on here. In the NBA, the Dallas Mavericks confirmed today that Luka Doncic will miss multiple weeks with a significant hamstring strain. This follows the loss of Kyrie Irving for the season. In Los Angeles, the Lakers are monitoring Austin Reeves, who remains sidelined with that oblique strain. This is just really crazy because the NBA playoff race is going on right now, y'all, and it's being reshaped due to these major injuries. So the fact that this is when they're going down, and they've already played the duration of the entire season. We're about to go into the playoffs, and teams that need to win to stay in are losing key players. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Of course, my Hornets still trying to dangle in there. They were looking really good for me. You see me wearing my LaMelo Ball shirt. Shout out to the Hornets. Atlanta looked good a couple of nights ago. They almost won against New York in a nail biter. A basket that was this had to be Tuesday night. A basket that looked as if it had gone in on the buzzer was not removed from the tips, had not gotten off in time before the buzzer, because had it been, the game would have gone into overtime. And I believe the final score was 108-105. New York getting it done. Hello to you, Watermelon 34. Thanks for saying hello. You guys make sure you also thumbs up this live stream. All right. So now that I've gotten all that out the way, I do want to talk about some college news here real quick. Now, this is really important because unfortunately I've seen the White House get involved for whatever that's supposed to be with college and how colleges are doing their, I think it's something to do with these NILs, as well as ongoing things, entering the draft, the transfer portal, you name it. Just a lot going on. So basically, let me look right here. The executive order on college athletics is actually continuing. The order mandates, as of April 3rd, the NCAA implement a strict 5-year eligibility limit and prohibition on professional athletes returning to college play by August 1st. Additionally, in a high-profile case that we're looking at, involving that, it's looking like, okay, does this get a chance? Do these guys get a chance to enter the portal? We've had players that don't get drafted as high as they want to, or don't get drafted at all, and then they go back into playing for college. And so this literally has a superseding waiver over all of that. I'll have more news on all of that as I kind of decipher through that, because that is quite a bit, and I don't really understand what it means for the long haul. It seems like a bunch of just extra stuff, like people getting involved in things that they really shouldn't be involved in. Seems to be the case, at least in my opinion. And for instance, Michigan, of course, congratulations to them. They got rid of the Huskies. Hurley Huskies went on home. Michigan celebrating its title, while that transfer portal is dominating that news. Is crazy, but congratulations to the Wolverines. First title since the late 80s, and they got it done. And UConn does not get an opportunity to run it back. It's crazy because it's always a story that overshadows something else. Coaches at Kansas and Kansas State are reportedly in active negotiations today to stabilize their 26-27 rosters, because there's a few schools out there that I saw that do not have a roster at all. There was one school that the entire team for basketball is in the transfer portal. So I just don't know. You know, the transfer portal is the same thing with football. We see it all the time, and it looks like the same thing is happening. University of North Carolina has hired their coach, replacing Coach Davis. So congratulations to him. I'm going to shift for just a little bit here back to the NFL as I roll into this salacious news that I promised you guys, because it's so much entertainment news that's intersecting with law. And I'm trying to think. It's none of it's good that I'm about to tell you guys, honestly. But it's entertainment because it is under that. I want to talk about really quick, not really quick, because I got time to talk about this. This is a very sad story. Three sad stories. So the sentencing of Corey Klingman has finally brought a measure of accountability for the July 6, 2024 crash that killed Minnesota Vikings rookie cornerback Kyrie Jackson and his former high school teammates Isaiah Hazel and Anthony Litton Jr. You guys remember that accident last summer. The three of them were together. School was out, and this also involved alcohol by the other driver and everything. So let me bring you guys up to speed. Jackson was a 4th round pick out of Oregon. a rising star who had just signed his rookie contract, literally like so close to right before he passed away. The accident occurred at 3:14 a.m. in the morning in Prince George County, Maryland. Klingman, who was 25 years old at the time, because this was just about 18 months ago, was driving an Infiniti Q50 with speeds over 100 miles per hour. I think I read somewhere where it was 109 on Pennsylvania Avenue when she attempted to change lanes and struck the Dodge Charger that Kyrie and his friends were riding in. The impact sent their car off the road and into a line of tree stumps. And Kyrie and Isaiah Hazel, passed away at the scene, and Litton died shortly after at the hospital. This was a horrific accident. Um, the legal proceedings had been very intense. Klingman was indicted on 13 counts, including vehicular manslaughter while under the influence. On February 4th of this year, the court officially sentenced um, Klingman to 15 years in prison, with the judge suspending all but 3 years. So the state's attorney, Alicia Braveboy, basically noted that while some may feel the sentence is light, it reflects a plea agreement that acknowledges the lack of prior criminal intent while holding her accountable for a reckless decision that permanently altered three families. Um, and I just thank you so much, Watermelon. I just have to pause for a moment. This case is a sober reminder for draft prospects and veterans alike of the consequences of impaired driving. A plea agreement when three people lost their lives is rough, because it's not just an accident if you are making a choice to drink alcohol or to consume drugs. The only exception I probably would have made, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, because let me put a disclaimer out there in case you guys didn't see it. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a law student, so I am only expressing my opinion. I just feel that unless she was on medication that may have altered her ability to operate a vehicle, because hey, we all do it. You know, we get the little sniffles, we take some medicine and we go ahead to work. That means we got to drive. Or we go to school, that means we got to drive. Or we go wherever, that means we have to drive. And it's just medicine, but it alters the operating faculty of our mind that controls the vehicle. A lot of medicines have a disclaimer on so many medicines that will tell you to at least exercise caution when operating a vehicle or heavy machinery, which could be a forklift or you name it, whatever it is. They have that on there to protect themselves from being liable and brought into a lawsuit when something of this magnitude occurs. If she was indicted on 13 counts, including vehicular manslaughter, while under the influence, and they gave her 15 years, and then the judge turns around and suspends all but 3 based on a lack of criminal history, I am struggling, because I'm pretty sure the ability to just overcome that many lives were removed from this earth by one person and one decision is astounding. I'm interested to see, and I probably need to do a little more research on this, y'all. The vehicle that Kyrie was in, do they feel that it was contributory to the accident? Were they doing something, were they speeding? Were they texting and driving? Something that would have contributed to this accident. And maybe perhaps that's why some of the time was set aside. But to be honest, here in Georgia, I've heard of people, literally the example I gave you, taking cough medicine and getting into an accident, and their child passes away. They're driving and their child passes away. They are in the hospital for months, comatose. They finally come to. When they come to, they're already restrained to the bed because the state has already decided they're going to press charges. And this person was sentenced and did 15 years in prison for the loss of her daughter, which was an accident because she was taking cough medicine. And I know this, and I know it's not fabricated because I've seen the paperwork. And you would think in that situation that this person accidentally took their own daughter from their lives. That in itself is an astronomical pain and loss that will never be remedied. That's already a punishment enough. Even though it was an accident, she has to live with this every single day. And that's been a couple of decades ago. But then you have a situation in Maryland that allows a plea agreement because of previous criminal history. And so that brings me to a small point I want to make. A lot of states have looked at things such as minimum mandatory and sentencing recommendations. And we know there's some states that are Commonwealth. There's Kentucky, there's Virginia, I believe West Virginia is one, Pennsylvania is also a Commonwealth. Those states basically in some ways detach themselves from the overall consensus of how laws are applied. But then you have states like I just mentioned, Georgia, and I'm a Georgia resident, that in this same situation, Klingman likely would have been facing about 70 years because they would have tacked on it. Well, I say maybe 60, 20 years for each person. And in the right jurisdiction, she's going to do at least 70% on each of those indictments, each of those dissolvements of her case. Like everyone that was sentenced, everyone that was disposed of, the disposition of the case, she would have done, like, say they gave 20 years. Okay, they're going to want 15 of that off the rip. So now you're at 45 years. But Maryland seems to be more lenient. And with Klingman only getting 3 years, she's still a young lady. She'll be able to, bounce back. I hope she gets the help she needs mentally because I'm pretty sure she didn't set out to do this. It was not like it was intentional. It just happened. Hi, how you doing? Let's see. This is Worzier. Hello. Thank you for saying hello. Everybody, let me know where you're watching from. So anyway, I know the families are distraught. And one thing that people don't realize, civil has nothing to do with criminal. So even though she may have criminally only received 15 years and they basically reduced it down to 3, the civil lawsuits will come forth, particularly for Kyrie, who had just signed the NFL contract. And how that works is the younger the person is, the more they probably would have been worth had they lived a full life. And so civil comes into play where it looks at what that person could have been worth had they lived and what that person took away financially from a financial perspective, from a contribution perspective to that family going forward. So I would not be surprised if civil lawsuits come forth. I don't know what they would possibly get from Klingman because number one, she's going to be in custody. And number two, her background is not out there financially. Like it doesn't say she comes from wealth. It doesn't say what type of business she was running, if she was running one, what type of work she does or anything. So I say all that to say we may not get anything. They may not get anything and they may not seek to get anything. Everyone was young and sometimes it just is what it is. All right, guys, I'm gonna take this moment to go ahead and go to my halfway point, and I will be back. I will be back right after this. All right, we are back. You guys saw all the shows we have there. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome back to the Legal Scores, the second half of my hour. And so yeah, so now we're talking entertainment. And for those who follow the music industry, this next story is kind of puzzling, in my opinion. Rapper Offset, who I think he's still married technically to Cardi B, but he was hospitalized following a pew pew in Florida on April 6th. And accordingly, artist Lil TJ was arrested on charges that were supposedly linked to that. In the world where sports and entertainment actually intersect, we're tracking this legal fallout of this pow pow involving Migos rapper Offset. On Monday evening is when this happened. He was injured near the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. This is right outside of Miami. He was transported to a local hospital and is currently listed in stable condition with non-life-threatening injuries. They've have had pictures up there. Page 6 already has him out there taking a smoke break in a wheelchair, this, that, and the third. This story took a complex turn because fellow rapper Lil TJ, Tion Merritt, was arrested in Broward County shortly after this incident. And initially, social media had flooded it with, BS reporting, rumors that he was actually the one that had, injured him with his weapon. I'm being real strategic because I don't want to get flagged for saying this, but you guys see the what I'm doing. And however, through Broward County jail records and Lil TJ's attorney, Don Florio, TJ was arrested on charges of disorderly conduct and operating a vehicle without a valid license. Unrelated to the incident itself with Offset, even though two other individuals were detained on the scene of this incident. Now, Lil TJ has not been charged in connection with any gunfire. I can say that. The investigation is ongoing and law enforcement has secured the scene. You guys remember the crazy narrative is Offset, of course, was the rap group Migos out of Atlanta and the north of Atlanta, like Athens, so the north. But unfortunately, in November of 2022, Takeoff was unalived out in Houston when Offset and some other persons got into it over a domino or dice incident at a bowling alley. And so that trial will be coming up this summer. But Takeoff did not survive that incident. And now here we are, a couple of years removed from that, almost 4 years. Seems like it was just yesterday. But now Offset is in a similar situation, but Offset is expected to recover fully. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out. I will fill you all in as I get the details. I don't have any details more than what I just told you all now. So that's that. All right. Got some more scandalous news for you guys. I don't know if Stephon Diggs left his mark on the New England Patriots or not, but Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini, the Patriots head coach, Mike Vrabel, NFL reporter Diana Rossini, facing public scrutiny. Now, both of them are married to other people. Let me specify, they're not married to each other, but Pictures have surfaced everywhere of them holding hands, of them at a pool together, and it just looks really bad. Page 6 put these photos out showing Vrabel and Rossini together at a luxury resort, appearing to be in a very intimate setting. Both of them are married, of course, like I said, and they've both released statements to the media saying that it was just, innocent and friendly. However, y'all know they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And from my opinion, you all can Google these. Uh, the pictures look anything but innocent. I mean, holding hands is definitely not innocent and friendly. It's created a firestorm of reaction throughout the league, because some people in the league honestly have come out today and said that they've been in an open slash secret relationship for years, and it's just now coming to the light. Like, other people that are professionals in the league have said they've already known about this, and that there is a relationship. And so I'm expecting more info to come out about this. And y'all know I will definitely tell you all when I find out, and what I find out. But this comes at a critical time for Mike Vrabel. He's fresh off this Super Bowl appearance. I mean, kudos to him. He made it all the way to the Super Bowl, his first season with the Patriots, which means it was not him that was the issue in Tennessee. He really done really good with Drake May and everybody up there. But they are definitely, looking into deep draft preparations, and of course, having replaced Stephon Diggs, who was released, and now this. So, storms and stories kind of coincide. If it's a storm, it's going to be a story. And at this point, it's kind of overshadowing the upcoming draft. But is it really? I mean, do we really care about salacious information about their personal lives? We really don't. It doesn't affect their coaching, but it's out there. People thought because you are in a limelight that this is what you're going to do. They want to make sure that it's out there and that people get a chance to basically see what it is. I need to check one thing, guys. So all of you guys from the Texas area, I'm about to go over to another trial, and this is the death of Mo 3. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know who he was until he passed away, but I did watch the footage of how he passed away, and it was horrific. I mean, it's always horrific anyway when someone passes away, but to be basically taken during the daytime, like, I mean, they were on a freeway. Let me just bring you guys up to speed here. Let me see. Please. I gotta pull up a note on this because I want to give you all some background on this situation before I delve into it. For those that don't know, in 2020, Dallas rapper Mo 3, Melvin Noble, basically was unalived on the highway. And another rapper is actually involved, Yella Beezy. And this happened November of 2020. He was pursued on I-35 East in Dallas. He stopped his vehicle on the footage. You will see, like, he jumps out, goes to the passenger side, clearly looking for his, weapon, and leaves the door open. Like, it's just that serious. This dude that is chasing him on the highway in broad daylight with a bunch of other cars out there. He did attempt to run on foot instead of getting back in his car, but was chased and attacked in the back of the head by this weapon. Prosecutors recently highlighted evidence in the pretrial hearings, including a $40,000 cash withdrawal allegedly made by a person of interest shortly after this unaliving. Now, this trial is coming up. They've been delaying it for quite some time. Yella Beezy, who's Marquise Conway, has been indicted as of March of last year for capital murder. Prosecutors actually alleged that he paid that $40,000 that I was just telling you all about to put a hit on Mo 3. His trial was actually set for February of this year, but it's faced a lot of delays due to his mom passed away and just the sheer volume of evidence. You guys remember the YSL trial in Georgia that had originally 28 defendants, Young Thug being one of them. Insurmountable evidence. And when you have that much evidence and it's a high profile trial, it could take eons. And even though there's, motions for speedy trial and things like that, as long as the court addresses motions and is doing their best to put them on a calendar, the motion, has been granted. It's easy for people that don't work in that capacity to say, well, they filed a motion for speedy trial last year and it's been a year. And usually a motion for speedy trial is held within that calendar year or within that court term is a better way to describe it. A court term is usually 3 months, which is 90 days. But because of the insurmountable evidence that is still being reviewed by prosecutors and defense alike, it's been pushed back again. Now, the alleged gunman, Kewan Dontrell White, is already serving an 8-year and 9-month federal sentence for a firearm possession related to that specific incident. And the reason why it was federal is because of just the highness of this incident. His state trial for the actual murder of Mo 3 was also pushed back to February of this year, but new evidence is coming in as well. I'm really interested to see how the feds jumped on that so fast. I'm wondering if it was because it was on I-35. Of course, another person, Devin Maurice Brown, a co-defendant, was also arrested in 2021. He's also facing charges in connection with this incident, with his trial basically running parallel to others. So there was some talk early on that one of them or both of them or all of them were trying to sever their cases, which means they're going to separate. They want to be tried independently, which means any of them could testify against the other. As long as the cases are jointly connected, it would mean that a person would have to come out and make a proffer, which is a statement under oath, an affidavit against one of the other defendants to have their case severed. The prosecution's theory, of course, centers on the capital murder, while the remuneration charge that I spoke to you guys about against Yella Beezy, which carries a potential sentence of life without parole or the death penalty, because this is Texas. It's just a lot going on now. Basically, they got Yella Beezy as being the hirer. He's the contractor. He's the one that does it. His current status is he's on house arrest, y'all, awaiting a trial date. The alleged gunman that I told you guys about that has a federal case already is in federal custody, waiting on the state murder trial that's pending. And then the accomplice that I just mentioned is also in custody, awaiting trial. And this is one of those big things that you're just like, it's a delay after a delay after delay. So that's what I got for you guys on that. I feel like need to check one more thing here before we get ready to hop off. But I thought you guys would be interested in knowing about that entertainment news. Let me bounce back over really quick. I don't know how I forgot to start the show with this news. The Chicago Sky have moved on from Angel Reese, and she is officially an Atlanta Dream. So just ahead of her birthday that's coming up here next month, Angel Reese is coming to the A, and massive contract for her, 800,000 starting to $1 million. They're expecting her to be able to get that. She's of course a forward, and the LSU alum that played amazing. They're expecting her to really heat up the Dream. And so ticket sales, of course, have already gone up because, let's be clear, y'all, the WNBA has an issue with filling seats. They always have. We saw the Caitlin Clark spark go up, and now it's kind of going down. We see Asia Wilson. Like, you see certain players that come in and they ignite the interest for the sport. and then you see it kind of fizzle down. So Atlanta's gonna get like a little match strike right here, and then hopefully generate some revenue in the A, some interest in the A. Now the Chicago Sky actually traded her um, after only 2 seasons. Her tenure in Chicago was marked by questions about her on court fit with Camila Cardozo. You guys know her out of South Carolina, and coaching changes. The Sky actually has suspended her after she publicly criticized the franchise's direction and lack of investment. So she spoke out and she was penalized for it. Despite her stating verbally and on all her socials that she was planning to stay, the Sky ended up trading her, reportedly without even using a trade request from the player. So that would be her. Like, she didn't even request it, and she basically wanted to stay there. But she was, of course, traded for a pair of first-round draft picks out of Atlanta. Jeff Pagliocca said that she was traded for this specific reason. They want to get some fresh talent over there. And she was a focal point for this team while she was there. But the things that went on, with her personality and things like that, they just feel like she just literally just was not the mesh for them. And you guys will remember when she got drafted, she had the whole angel in the sky thing on her social medias. So, of course, in 2024, Chicago drafted center Camila Cardozo with the number 3 overall pick, and Reese was number 7. And I was a little shocked about that, but she went. Cardozo's selection wasn't surprising. Reese's was a little head turn because Chicago traded up one spot to acquire her in a package that included a 2025 second-round pick and the rights to a 2026 first-round swap. The 2026 pick is now the number 2 overall selection in this year's WNBA draft. And it just looked as if at first they were going to work together really well, Cardozo and Reese is who I'm speaking about. And the Sky was literally looking for that pivotal player that would be able to lead them, into this place of success, and just that people would want to be Sky fans and just ignite that franchise. But the concerns about how the Sky actually would make both of them coming in, there 2 big stars from college, coming in, it was going to be very difficult to mesh them. And during their rookie season, it was really noticeable as to were they competing or who was trying to outshine who, or was this all on the Sky? Because you could not put total emphasis in both players being that they were new. Early concerns about the fit between both of them made another misstep very, very obvious when the Sky actually hired head coach Teresa Weatherspoon weeks before hiring Pagliocca, and both had limited experience in their respective roles. And Pagliocca did not have a hand in selecting Witherspoon, creating an environment that just was not set up for success in Chicago as all of their tenures began. So, of course, Witherspoon struggled in her first season as head coach, finishing with a 13-27 record, y'all, amid a slew of injuries and reported locker room concerns. And the Sky also missed the playoffs after winning only 2 of its last 14 games. In September of 24, the Sky fired Weatherspoon less than a year after her hire. They was just like, this is not going to work. And the decision actually pivoted over to Reese's behavior. This gutted Reese, who had grown very close to her. They were very close. And Reese went to social media to talk about it. She was very impassioned about it. Said she was heartbroken, literally lost for words. And basically how much Weatherspoon had meant to her at such a pivotal point in her life. And she said that Weatherspoon was the only person that believed in her and the one that trusted her. And so from that point on, we started to see a change in Reese's personality. She was becoming more vocal about issues, and it just was not it just was not a good situation. Of course, we know the minority situation came up about her being Black, and how a lot of people don't understand in the sports arena the double standards that you get as a tough job as a Black female, and then crazy circumstances that had gone on when their backs were against the wall in Chicago. And then she just goes on and on and on, and she just did not hold back. In November of 2024, the Sky went on to hire former Las Vegas Aces assistant Tyler Marsh to be the franchise's next coach. And the hope was that Marsh would basically get Chicago back on track with a winning record. But then the Sky went to 10-34 and missed the playoffs again. The offense just could not do the best thing. And then they were looking at guards Courtney Vandersloot and Ariel Atkins. They weren't that much of a help. As a matter of fact, Vandersloot tore her ACL. And with it being just 7 games into the season, there just wasn't enough to go back to anything. And Reese just was depleted at this point. Lack of stability on the offense. And, I've seen the memes about how some of her shooting was. And Angel Reese, coming to Atlanta, hopefully is a fresh start for her. She's managed to improve her overall stats from her sophomore year on up. And then the fact that she was, just having so many personality issues in Chicago, unfortunately overshadowed that. You guys know, I've always talked about how sometimes off-field behavior can overshadow on-field behavior. Same thing with the court. And so Angel, of course, did get a chance to do a heartfelt goodbye to the Chicago Sky. That rhymes. And she is now rolling on into Atlanta. She's here. And people are upset about it, though. They are upset still about the suspension that she got. And they just felt like she got a bad break. So like I said, hopefully Atlanta will give her an opportunity to redeem herself, be the star that we know, that she can be, and, go from there. All right, so there's some news that has come through while I have been on the air with you guys. I want to make sure that I give it to you all as I get ready to wrap up here. The Atlanta Hawks have fallen tonight. I just talked about them at the beginning of the show, but now their game is over. The Cavaliers, who are 51-29, beat them 122-116. Right now, games that are on, the Memphis Grizzlies are playing Denver. They're in the beginning of that game. Actually, that's the 7 minutes left in the second. 46-53. The Portland Trailblazers are playing San Antonio. That's early in that game. Those are both on ESPN. And Orlando tore down Minnesota 132-120. The Milwaukee Bucks got beat pretty bad by Detroit 137-111. OKC and LAC are going to be playing here at 10 o'clock. Once I log off, you guys hop over there, as well as Dallas versus Phoenix. Those are the West Coast games. And a lot of games that were going on in through the next few days. Our top 5 of each division. For the Atlantic Division, you got the Celtics at number 1, Knicks right on their heels, the Raptors, 76ers, and the Nets are back in it for the Atlantic Division. Central being led by D-Tweezy, the Detroit Pistons, Cavaliers right behind them, the Bucks, the Bulls, and the Pacers. In the Southeast, you got Atlanta Hawks leading the Southeast Division. This is one of the first seasons in a long time that they have not had to win to stay in. And so they're in number 1 right now, right over the Orlando Magic, followed by my Hornets. Okay, we number 3. And the Miami Heat, followed by the Washington Wizards. What's up, Danny? All right, Danny coming on. Said we all know it's going to be Boston and OKC in the finals. Count on it. Okay. I don't really like who Danny be liking. He's, I forgot to give his UCLA Bruins a shout out. While I was talking about UConn being beat by Michigan, UCLA wins its first title in school history. Congratulations to the Lady Bruins getting it done like for the Okie doke real good. So they are West Coast riding and celebrating. So congratulations to them. Um, love you too, Danny. But anyway, all right. So listen, so this is the thing. Um, there's a lot of teams out there right now that, like I told you guys at the beginning of the hour, injuries are starting to kind of like pile up on some of these teams that I just read to you that are just in standings, and they definitely need to be. I don't know what they're going to do because some of these players have serious injuries that are going to be out for the duration of the season, and therefore they may not be in much longer in playoff contention is what I'm speaking about. All right, so on another note, what's really weird now, one thing about this player, I'm not a fan of him, but he's good at what he does. He literally looks like he defies age. Um, the rumors are swirling again about LeBron James. Y'all know for the last at least 3 or 4 years, they've talked about LeBron James making an exit. Um, and this might be one of those things. LeBron stayed in, to watch his son come in the league with him. He's now since gone back to the G League. And it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out because every year we think this is it for LeBron, and then we see him again. So I really don't know. I mean, my thing is he's injury free, for the most part. He seems to be doing well, and just let him have it. If that's what keeps him young and that's what keeps him doing what he does, along with him and Anthony Davis pranking. There's this new show called Played on TBS. They just got Draymond Green really well after the Atlanta New York game the other day. You guys should check it out. I think it comes on, I guess, regular on Tuesday nights, right after the NBA game. But it's really fun. So I'm just like of the notion, if he feels good, looks good, let him have at it. Now, as I get ready to wrap up, I know we hinted about it a little bit earlier about Fernando Mendoza not coming to the draft, but let's be clear, the draft is 3 weeks away, you guys. We are literally finally here. But fans do not have to wait long to see how it may play out. It's a bunch of mock drafts out there. There's been plenty of debate about whether this draft is actually bad. People are saying, of course, because Arch Manning is not in it, that it's another trash quarterback draft. And I mean, it is. I mean, it's deep, but it does lack all pro caliber prospects and several players who possess special talents that play positions that are not often selected in the top 10. So the actual draft will likely unfold much differently. The consensus boards actually are projected. And as a result, me, you, all of us fans should not get hung up on who their favorite team is and who that team bypasses. The 3-day event will be an opportunity for teams to find starters and quality depth into day 3. Let's see. Danny says, oh my God, someone please take LBJ and his son with welcome arms. He's kept the Lakers hostage too long. What's up, Corgy? Corgy says, Finn said K-Ream. Okay, all right. But as a reminder about the draft, guys, and you're right. I mean, Bronny's gone to the G League. I think they try to give him an opportunity to come back into the league, Danny. And he's back, and then he's waiting on another son now. And I'm like, LeBron, you are past the 40 mark now. And, there's that. Now, as a reminder about the draft, the teams that are without a first round selection, which means you will not hear from them unless they trade up or do some type of shenanigans, which they always do. The Jacksonville Jaguars will not be in the first round, so you Jags can take it easy unless y'all get the word, and it will happen. It's almost like you got to stay glued to the draft because so much is happening. The Falcons also do not have a first round selection. You guys know why. This is because of trades that were made. They coughed up theirs to Miami for Tua Tagovailoa. And the Colts are without a first round draft pick, as well as the Packers and the Denver Broncos. Now, it really won't matter for Denver anyway, because they're like 3 or 4 from the last spot. So it doesn't matter. They would have been at the bottom of the first round anyway. But we shall see. And Danny says the NFL draft is the best draft of all sports. You know what, Danny? I'm glad you made that point. It really is. I remember trying to watch the WNBA draft, and it was 45 minutes. And the reason why I know that is because I had paused it or something. I stepped away and I came back and it was over. And I'm like, wait, something clearly had happened to my TV. I know that draft wasn't over like that. And it's just so, it's a lesser degree of interest. It's no emotion whatsoever. I will say this. I wish the NFL, and I said this probably a couple of weeks ago, I wish the NFL would do lotteries instead of the worst team gets the top draft, because at some point you see the same teams in the top 5. We've seen the Giants, we've seen the Titans, at Atlanta and Carolina were both in the top 10, and New Orleans. The whole NFC South was in the top 10 draft spots for the last several years, and this year they won't be because the Panthers, I don't know. They're still around the 500 mark. So let's not brag too much yet. But it's the same teams. And so I think that they should do what the NBA does, and that is draw lots. And with that, I'm out of a lot of time. I appreciate all you guys tonight joining me. Make sure you join me Friday with the fellas. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for the likes and love.